Hello there, MESBG hobbyist. I hope you guys are doing well. So today I'm taking a moment and I'm talking about this event that I ran last weekend as of the time of this recording, Thursday, March 9th. It was on the bada boom bada bing, 4th of March. Look at that. So, was that all right? Was it 4th of March already? Look at that. How fast time flies. Crazy. So, I did my third annual 1,000 point event now for the Carolinas called the Great Battle of Carolinas. So, last year when I did it in 2022, it was the Battle of Great Armies because last year's was more Battle of Five Armies theme. So, I'm coming back to the original title, which was the Great Battle of the Carolinas. And since this is the third year, it's version 3.0. So this was, like I said, 1,000 point event. I hosted it at my house this year. 2022 was a bit of a hiatus for me, so I didn't do a lot of events. I did two events that I hosted. One of them being the Battle of Great Armies, like I already spoke of, and the other being the Scaring of the Shire, which I did a teamed event for, and I talked about it on the channel. Had some battle reports, a whole bunch of cool stuff. So I wasn't expecting a whole lot of turnout for this event because of the fact that I hadn't really been out in the community. But turns out I had a load of people show up. So at one point we had 20 players, and I was the alternate. Um, so this was a teamed event. I'm gonna go. So I have a rules packet pulled up here. So I'm gonna go through a little bit, trying to show you what the event was about and stuff like that. So there's a $20 entry fee. I use that in order to help pay for the prizes, and I supported lunch. Okay, provided's a better word. Whatever. I provided lunch. So with that many people and hosting in my private home, I'm close enough to the city of Lincolnton that folks could easily go out for lunch and come back, but you'd be spending probably 20 minutes driving total. And that means you're then waiting for food. You'd have like 10 minutes to shovel it into your gullet and then, get back here to play. So I've done this a few times now where I've hosted, these littler events. And provided food, and it just seems to go smoother. It gives me a chance as a TO to get all the scores tabulated, to get all of the matchups set up for round two, as well as having time to spend with the players. Because at the end of the day, most of these players I'm either A, very familiar with, or B, I'd like to get to know because they're coming to an event for the first time, or they're coming from a different area, or I've only met them a couple times, so I'd like to spend more time with them. It also gives all of the players the ability to do the same thing. So I like that. This was a 1,000 point event. So I had a few questions, which is why I put this. It's a one-on-one scoring. It's a teamed event. So the way the rankings were done was based off a team. So you and your partner played 3 games apiece. Your total combined score. No, you cannot play your partner naturally because that would just hurt your score. Determine what your ranking was. So banned a couple models, limited siege engines because there's just been like I don't mind siege engines, but there's been this huge influx of 40k players, and a lot of them just seem to go for what is the most effective way of killing my enemy, not what is an effective way of killing my enemy, but also make it a fun game. So I've seen several players showing up with like 3 or 4 siege engines, and it's just asinine that you would even consider bringing that to a fantasy style sword and shield bows and pike lines type of a game. But of course, they're 40k players, so what do you expect? Moving along, let's see. We had nothing really crazy. I don't like Battlescribe. If you haven't gotten that from my channel before, I don't like Battlescribe. It's absolute crap, in my opinion. Um, yeah, Lonely Night Army Builder, the best way to go. Okay, simply the best way to go. It does everything Battlescrap does, but better. So I actually banned Battlescrap just for my simplicity's sake of being able to keep track of stuff at 1,000 points for this event for the list submissions. So we had 2.5 hour time limit. That's down here. We'll come back to scoring. 4x4 boards, pretty similar to normal. We played dice down. So I did a survey, and we'll talk about the survey later. I found that in 2.5 hour games, you have to do dice down. Because if you tell people, go ahead and finish your turn, or go ahead and finish your phase, well, they could have just started combats. And combats can take 10 to 15 minutes, depending on how many models are still on the field. Now, yeah, you would like to say that at 2.5 hours of a game played, there shouldn't be much left. But I beg to differ. There were several of my games where actually a couple of my games where there was a large amount of models still left on the table, and finishing combats, I was able to, as the TO getting called away, I added a few extra minutes to my games, so we finished our combats. Yes, I know, bad TO, breaking your own rule, whatever. Don't care. We'll talk about that later as well. I have a few comments on that. So the scoring was based off the victory points in this scenarios. I do the old school, I guess it's an unofficial way, but 4-3-2-1-0 for a major, minor draw, minor loss, major loss. I found that that's just, it fits the way I do events. So I know that the book has a way of doing it, and a lot of folks are going that way, but this is the way I do it. And I don't do the doubling like the book does, because I don't think somebody getting a 1-0 victory or a 2-0 victory because they had a banner in their army is a reason for them to get a major victory. You need to actually achieve some of the goals of the game other than just bringing a piece of war gear in order to get a major victory. Yes, that war gear can help you, but you have to do more than just that, which is kind of where that whole 4 or more VPs comes into play. Because if you have a banner and your opponent doesn't, well, congratulations, you've got 2 VPs, so now you just need 2 more. So go find a way to score 2 more VPs, and you can get a major victory. So that's always been my thought process when it comes to how do you score major, minors, right there. So scenarios, 6 pools. And I explained this several times, and it appears that some folks still didn't understand this because they still did it wrong. There was a video that was done talking about the event, and it sounds like they did the scenario wrong for how to pick. So we did veto system, which is fastly and vastly becoming the way to go, and I think 99% of players enjoy it, and I would not be surprised if this is the way that it's done from here on out. Kind of sucks because there might be some scenarios you really never see again at an event, or you really never play again because of the fact that they just get vetoed out. Hopefully you still play them when you practice, because even though it's vastly and fastly becoming the way to go, I'm sure there are people out there who won't do it and will go ahead and do picked scenarios, which is cool. So the way this works is I declared what the scenario pool was going to be at the beginning of the round. You went down to your table, you met your opponent, you and him shook hands, you exchanged your army information, you both rolled a dice. The lower rolling player was supposed to eliminate scenarios first. Now, most of the time I heard that's the way it was doing, but there were a few where it was like the higher. This is the one time where, like, when you roll low, hey, you get to actually go first because you rolled the lowest. Of course, it's also not a good thing, because now you've got a little bit more pressure on you, like, okay, which one of these 3 scenarios are they wanting to play, and which one of these 3 scenarios do I not want to play? So it puts a little more pressure on you on which one to eliminate first. And then the higher rolling player, the onus is on him basically to dictate what the scenario to play is going to be, because of the fact that he will eliminate the second one, leaving the third and final. So again, and that's where rolling high is a good thing, because you get to essentially, quote unquote, pick the scenario. I built the boards. Most of the boards that were there were my own boards. Of the 9 tables, 7 were mine. So we've had some issues at some events I've seen and been to as well, where models have been like moving terrain, and I've even seen players go and move terrain that a TO has set. No, the terrain's set by the TO. It's set in a way that there should be paths for every model in the game. And I say that knowing that there are a number of Moonmok players out there. Yeah, I'm going to give you a couple pathways. I'm not going to give you free reign on the board. That's just how the game goes. Again, you can see it right here. That S in MESBG is for strategy. So if you get onto a board and you have a Moonmok and there's only 2 ways you can go, guess what? You better figure out a damn strategy in order to make those 2 ways work, because that's the only way you're going. We're not here to... TOs are not here to dictate boards based off of models. They're here to dictate boards off of A, thematic. What is the board recreating? B, what they can do. Because at the end of the day, a TO has to be able to afford to make a board as well. Awards, we had first, second, third, best painted good, best painted evil, wooden spoon. So I had some really cool wooden spoons that I actually got laser engraved or wood burned or whatever the heck they were. Those were pretty cool. Those went out to some people. Unfortunately, best painted good, best painted evil. I try to usually do something small, but financially I'm in a bit of a crunch right now, so I couldn't do anything with them. It was more of a handshake, congratulations, you've won best painted good, best painted evil. And as it was, because time just kind of goes, I ended up not even be able to announce them publicly at the event. I had to text everybody afterwards, hey, this is who won, because by the time the event ended, it was almost 7 o'clock at night, and folks needed to drive home, because I had several folks that were coming from 3+ hours away, and at that point, they're already getting home at 10 o'clock or later. So we did it. I am going to try and go back and do something, print out some sort of certificate and mail it to them. That way they have something they can hang on their wall of awards, because it is nice to get something physical when you do win something, especially because it's voted by your peers for best painted good and evil. So I think that pretty much covers everything when it comes to how the event was played. So let's go ahead and take a look at how the event played out. So let's look at the teams. So we had 9 teams. Like I said, it was a teamed event. We had the Southern Scum, the Two Towers, Dixie Stampede, Worshippers of the Flame, Spoon Peddlers 2.0, Men of the West, Fresh Out of Limbus, Lords of the West, and Tag Tog. So, like I said, there were 20 players at one point. I had a whole team drop out. One because they had something that they were headed back home. They're college kids. One of them was headed back home. Didn't realize his mother had booked him to come home that weekend to see an activity that his siblings were doing. So he messaged me, fully respect that. I was like, okay. So I tried to set up his teammate with somebody, and he ended up being like, I'm just going to drop out as well. I was like, oh, that's too bad. So at that point, we had 9 teams. Then I had another guy drop out. Plus, actually, I think I had 4 guys drop out at one point. I was able to get 3 of them back by helping them out and putting them up for the weekend at my house. And then I finally had the last dropout. And so I, as the TO, ended up having to play. Now, there were some comments like, oh, why is the TO playing? Well, this is a teamed event. If this was not a teamed event, okay, we have an odd number. Sorry, we're going to do round robin. But as the TO as a teamed event, it's like I can't just go and pick one guy not to come. Like, if he wants to come play, there's got to be a way. And this was a solo TO event, me being the sole TO. Now, there were some comments made because I went ahead and chose, the Southern Scum, Dan and Joe, who are my good compadres. Go check out the LTR SPG team. We've done a lot of work over there, the 3 of us, on their channel. There's a link below. We did a video discussing how it went for us as players, and I actually talked about my experience as a player. This is my video as the experience as a TO in their video. So also go check out, curses. Chris, what is your channel's name? I can't remember. I'm sorry. I'm a terrible person. But Chris did a review of the event as well, and I'll leave a link to his review as well as tag his channel in the description below. So go check those guys out. So back to what I was originally saying. Since I ended up having to play, I did have final authority. I am the TO. But I said that Dan and Joe were my quote-unquote co-TOs, in the fact that if you needed a quick rules question, you could ask one of them, and they can answer for you. But I am the TO. So if you weren't satisfied with what they had to give you the answer for, you could call me. And I made it very, very easy to get me. So we did play at my house. I'm blessed with enough space where I could put 10 boards up total, which is why I had 20 at one point. But they're going to be spread out a little bit. We're all in the same general area in the downstairs, but there's some walls. A couple people in the library, some people in downstairs living room, some people out in the garage. So I had walkie-talkies set at every table, all set to the same channel naturally, with me having one. And if you needed me, you just picked the walkie-talkie up and called for the TO. You wasn't any searching. There wasn't any screaming, trying to scream above the crowd like at a regular event, because that's something that also happens at a lot of events. It's like all this loud noise, and then everyone's like, hey, TO, TO! So it can be really hard to hear that. And it's actually something I'm probably going to go ahead and adapt and do for future events. Not only is it easy for you to get me as a TO, because all you have to do is pick up a walkie-talkie and talk exactly as I'm talking to you now, but I can pick up the walkie-talkie and talk into it and be like, okay, guys, there's an hour left. There's none of this. I have to run around. There's none of this. Hey, there's an hour left. It's literally just me picking up the walkie-talkie, clicking the talk button, go, hey, guys, we're an hour in. There's an hour left. Very simple, very efficient. And it worked out extremely well, in my opinion. Don't know what anybody else's opinions were, but the fact that I had them made it really easy for guys to find me. So, those are our teams. Those are our players. Looking at the rounds, so this is my score sheet that I have. I have everybody here. We played Maelstrom of Battle scenarios for round 1, unique scenarios for round 2, and killing scenarios for round 3. So how did I determine the pools? Well, I picked. That was my prerogative. I've done enough of these 1,000-point events now, not only as a TO, but also as a player, where I've played at other events, that what are they called? Objective-based scenarios. They just take a long time to finish with so many points on the board, because you're looking usually at the 20 to 30 minute range for deployment. And I put a hard and fast 30-minute cap on deployment. I don't think it affected anybody in this game, in this event, but it was there. But now if you're having to do an objective scenario where you're trying to do domination or capture and control or not command the battlefield. What's the other one? Breakthrough. And you're taking 5-10 minutes more to, measure out, okay, where's the center? Where's 12 inches this way, that way, and the other? Or domination, where it's like, okay, I'm going to set these here, I'm going to set these there. Now, I know there's a few out there where, like Maelstrom, for example, you could play Heirlooms Ages Past. And there were a couple guys that I think played that scenario. So, from my understanding, thankfully that didn't affect anyone. And then I know unique scenarios, you can have Fog of War, where you have to pick objectives, terrain pieces. So for that, since I'm talking about it, I actually if you decided on Fog of War was the one that was left after elimination, then I gave each player 5 poker chips and told them, place the 5 poker chips anywhere on your opponent's side of the board. I got a few looks, but when I explained it out, it made sense, and I could see a lot of light bulbs coming on. So normally there's this issue with terrain boards, where sometimes there's a little bit more terrain on one side, sometimes there's a little bit more terrain on the other. Now I know I'm not going to be the hypocrite and say that factors into the whole strategy battle game thing, or strategy is part of it. But some of my boards do favor to have more terrain on one side than the other, just because of the fact that they are built that way. So what I did for that was just give everybody 5 poker chips. All right, you put the 5 chips anywhere on your opponent's side of the board. The onus is on you to dictate where they go. Why? Because now the strategy is in your court for having to figure out which one you're going after. If you put them all close to the center line, well, then you're going to have to find a way to beat your opponent off the center line in order for you to go grab your objective. If you put them all in the backfield, well, then you're going to have to find a way to break through your opponent in order to go get them out of the backfield. So it puts the onus onto the player as to decide, how they're going to set it up. And from what I saw, most of the games that did this did a simple 3 and 2, where they had 3 in the front and 2 in the back, or vice versa. And that works out well, because that's a good way to play. And for my game as well, which I talked about in the other video, that's what ended up happening. Is I went and had 3 in the front and 2 in the back. No, I'm sorry. I had 2 in the front and 3 in the back. So those are the scenarios we played. Killing scenarios, just to me, seemed like the best ones to do for the third scenario that I picked, because a lot of those are just upfront fighting. Maelstrom of Battle, something a little bit different outside of just the typical capture and control or domination. I removed the movement heavy scenarios because they are, again, this is a 1,000 points is a lot of models, so your deployment's going to take longer, your game's going to take longer because your turns are going to take longer. I don't even think 30 minutes extra, like 2.5 hours, is enough. I think you probably need closer to 2:45, 3 hours. So a storm the camp, reconnoiter, or whatever the third one is. I can't remember what the third one is right now, but it's just too much moving. And I have done one of those scenarios in the past at one of my 1,000 point events, and the scores were low because nobody really scored anything because they couldn't move all the way. They didn't have the time to move all the way across the field. Now that's not to say that nobody was able to do that, but by and large, the average game was either very close because it was like breaking or a leader wound or something. It wasn't, the main objectives were not scored. So yeah, the objective games are broken down into capture objectives or hold objectives and just objectives. So hold objectives are the ones I already talked about, and then objectives are like storm the camp, retrieval, and I think the third one's the one there's like 3 in the middle and you deploy in alternating quarters. I can't remember what that is right now. Again, just a lot of models. Having to deploy in corners requires you going back and forth. I just didn't want to do it. I figured Maelstrom, Unique, and Killing were the 3 most balanced scenarios to play for a 1,000 point event, especially utilizing the new veto system that we've been doing. How did I get them this way? That's simple. I rolled a d6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 was how I did it. So the first one that rolled up on the d6/d3, it was Maelstrom of Battle. Cool. That helps out. Unique and Killing, well, usually Unique ends up being last because, it's a tougher game. You really got to think about it. But I named them 50-50 roll-off. Unique ended up rolling before Killing. So Unique was round 2. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. That's how I ended up getting my 3 scenarios, 3 scenario pools in the order they were. So one thing I also heard was like matchups. All right, guys. Okay, I had a glitch there. My mic cut out, and I literally talked for 20 minutes and didn't realize it due to my recording software not giving me any sort of clue. So I was talking about before it cut out how I do the matchups for round 1. So round 2 and round 3 are based off of positioning. Oh, excuse me. Dinner's coming back up. Y'all don't want to know that, but I'm sorry. Anyway, so rounds 2, round 3 are totally done based off of rankings at the time. The top 2 players will play, the top 3 players, or the top 3rd and 4th will play, and so on and so forth. So round 1, I do all RNG, random number generator. So I assigned everybody a number. So we have 18 players. There are 11 good and 7 evil. So the first thing I did was name all the good players, number all the good players 1 through 11, and then RNG 2 of them to get an even split of good versus evil. After that, I numbered all the good 1 through 9, all the evil 1 through 9 as well, and then did RNG and just put them in position. Every time somebody dropped out, I would just either shift the numbers down or move the numbers up or whatever needed to be done in order to continue keep going. So like first matchup, well, obviously there was 9 options. Second matchup, 8, so on and so forth. So that gave me my round 1 matchups. And so I'm going to actually... All right, so OBS is still recording. So this didn't record last time. That's why I'm checking. It cut out there. Hopefully it's still recording. But after I did that, I went and looked at the matchups. So I had, I think, 2 situations where partners were playing each other. So I just swapped them around with somebody else. Obviously another good with another evil to keep that going. And then I had a couple situations where guys who are from the same area ended up getting matched against each other. So for example, Preston here, Chris, where's he at? David, Evan, and Sam are from a similar area. They all come from the Greenville, Spartanburg area, so they're playing, they're practicing with each other, they're chatting, they're hanging out all the time. So, for example, round 1, I think Chris was playing against Evan. Chris was playing evil, Evan's playing good. Funny because they ended up matching round 3. But round 1, I was like, okay, I can swap that. I can swap it so that you guys aren't playing against each other. So I swapped that. And then I also had a situation where Richie and Josh and Ashley, so Ashley and Josh are on a team, but Richie was RNG, gotta love it. was matched up against Josh. Now, Richie and Josh and Ashley from the same area. Ashley and Josh are married. They're the husband-wife duo of the Two Towers from the that's the wrong one. From the Two Towers combo there. That's them. But Richie and Josh play against each other all the time. So I just went ahead and swapped Richie's and Josh's. I'm sorry, not Richie and Josh. I switched. Yeah, that's it. So okay, and then Joe and Todd were playing against each other, and Joe and Todd they're from the Charlotte area. I don't know if they played against each other, but they're from the area where at least we've hung out sometimes. They may have played each other, but I figured I'd go ahead and switch those guys because that made sense. So Richie was playing somebody that is not from this area, and Josh was playing not Richie, who he always plays against and who he partners with. So to me, it was a win-win situation to do swaps like that. It just makes sense. You can't play your partner, and then I can't dictate how rounds 2 and rounds 3 work out. That's just based off of scores. But I can dictate that if there's a guy that you hang out with a lot, that you shouldn't have to play him at an event where you travel. Like Evan and David, they were partners, but let's say, for example, they weren't partners. This was a typical one-on-one, event, individual score and ranking. They play against each other and with each other all the time because they hang out at the same store and everything and hang out with each other due to the fact that they're from the same geographical location. So if I were to RNG them and have them be play against each other, which has actually happened because they come to many of my events, which I'm very grateful of, I would not have them match up against each other in round 1. I feel like as a TO, that is part of your responsibility. So that kind of explains how I got my 3 scenarios, which I'm pretty sure I was talking about before that. How I rolled for those and aligned them, and then how I did round 1. And then round 2 and round 3 was just straight up matchups based off of ranking. So I've kind of showed you guys the team totals already. I don't know if I talked about it or not, but Southern Scum, they got first. Fresh Out of Limbus was second. Tag Talk, that was my team, got third. Fourth was Spoon Peddlers 2.0, which is funny because I think they got second place at the last team event I did, so their Spoon Peddler title is not doing very well for them. Fifth, let's see, I'm trying to find fifth. Dixie Stampede. Sixth was Men of the West. Seventh, Lords of the West. And eighth, Worshippers of the Flame. And ninth, Two Towers. So they got the cool wooden spoons. Nothing to laugh about there. So, last little thing for the event. I made this nice little PowerPoint presentation. And I did, just kind of talk about the boards and how they played out. Some of the difficult terrain and things. Yeah, I thought that was a good thing to do for an event, especially an event of this size, due to the fact that there's so many people. And I can answer questions about boards in one large group setting instead of having to explain each board to people numerous different times throughout the event. So I like that idea. And then I finished it up, and this I'm gonna have to mute this. I'm sorry because I can't play it. Yeah, there we go. But I did a little motivational video that I built, and it's mostly just a clip show, and clip and GIF show, and I had some really great music going along with it. Built up the scenes from Two Towers, built up a few scenes from Return of the King. I realized after I finished that I was more Two Towers heavy, but I think honestly the battle of the Battle of Helm's Deep is probably the best battle out there. But it just had some really awesome music and everything going with it, and I really liked it. I enjoyed it. Apparently, I had one person that didn't like it because I did this survey. Let me pull it up, and I was looking for feedback for some ideas, and somebody apparently didn't like. One person didn't find the presentation informational, and 2 people didn't find the motivational video enjoyable. I don't know why. It's Lord of the Rings. You should be enjoying Lord of the Rings, but hey, whatever. But so this is something I was kind of looking to gather some information for next year. I'm looking to expand this event into a 2-day event. Um, I don't know if I'm going to or not, just because of cost. All right, we're gonna do a sound check. Looks like it's still recording, so hopefully it is. But it's gonna be a cost thing. So this event, it was $20. The $20 covered food, prize support, and I got a little bit of raffle stuff. I feel bad because I didn't have any prize support for Best Painted Good, Best Painted Evil. Um, I think I already covered that, but hopefully I can get those guys a placard or something made up and send it to them. But so some people wonder, like, how do events work out? Well, I keep a cost analysis semi spreadsheet. Like, this is a spreadsheet format, but it's not really a big spreadsheet. So you guys can see, like, here's like my cost of everything. So wooden spoons, that's how much they cost. Jersey Mike's, I got subs for folks. Jersey Mike's is a more expensive alternative because a lot of folks do pizza for like group of things, but pizza's cheap. You can get a large pie for like, especially like a one topping large pie for like 10, 11, $12 depending on where you get it from. But yeah, I could get 10 pizzas for like $120, but it's pizza. It's cheap carbs. It's not really good for you. I mean, I have a few guys that were here who are active duty military, and I have some folks that I mean, I don't ask anybody's medical information. It's none of my damn business. That's one thing. We're not going to get huge into it, but that's one thing that the world needs to stop doing, is prying at everybody's medical information. But I know I can respect the fact that I got some guys who are military and they have to, keep in shape. And then I can respect the fact that I got some guys who are trying to watch their weight. I mean, myself included. Like, I'm not no skinny mini no more. My military days are well behind me. My knees and my back and my ankles remind me of that every damn day. But Jersey Mike's is a somewhat healthier alternate. I mean, it's not obviously salads, but it's better than pizza. Unfortunately, it's also more expensive, but it is what it is. I'm willing to take a hit. So then we have trophies, prize support, chips and drinks. I provided those as well. So expected entry fee. So I had 20 players, or 18 players, I'm sorry. 2 of them I covered under myself because of the fact that they were in financial situation where they were kind of having a rough time, and I was like, I'd rather have them come to the event and just cover their costs for entry than not come to the event. That being said, I'm not covering everybody's damn entry, so don't all y'all come asking me to cover your entry fee in the future. That ain't gonna happen. But 18 people, $20 a piece, should be $360, but I don't count. And then the 2 people I covered, they don't count, obviously. So $300. The $86 was raffle prizes. So I had more people give money into raffle prizes than what I spent on raffle prizes. And I actually don't think that's correct. I think that's wrong. I'm pretty sure that's wrong. That only includes like the stuff that I bought specifically for this event. There are a few things that I brought from older events. So I had like 6 raffle prizes, 7. So 5 dice sets, some golden coins from the Desolation Shamalah collector's items, and then I had 2. They weren't full replicas of Tariel's fighting daggers, but they were close enough. So those fighting daggers didn't cost me anything because I won them at another event. I've had them for over 2 years. I'm not hanging them up. I'll probably never hang them up. So I went ahead and threw them into this raffle because I didn't have a really good big raffle prize. And then the dice, I had 1 of those. So I think I bought 4 dice sets plus maybe 3 dice sets plus the coins. So I probably, if I did true cost, it was probably closer to $100 for raffle prizes. But basically, if you don't want to do it, 86 minus 72, that's 14. So I had one person, I had one of the 2 people I covered, 14 or 20 $14 out of their 20. What is that? 60%? Yeah, 60 or 70%. Okay. I can't do math. What can I say? 70% of their ticket was covered. Cool. I still took a loss. It is what it is. You don't go into these events expecting to make a profit. If you do, then you need to check yourself and go find another hobby, because you don't run events theoretically in a perfect world you break even, but breaking $80 below, I'm okay with that. It's no big deal. It's better than last year when I ran this 1,000-point event. I broke $600 below. That sucked. So there is that. And then I just want to. So here's the video again from the PowerPoint. I don't think I need that anymore. I'm not going to save that because I didn't make any changes. But there's one thing I want to cover real quick. That was brought up. I did this survey. Like I said, most of it was looking at next year. So I'm potentially, we'll do a sound check again. Looks like I'm recording. I'm gonna have to do that from now on. I'm thinking about doing a 2-day event. I don't know. It'll depend. Because like we were just talking about money. Like if I do a 2-day event, I found a great venue. We're going to do it at that venue next year. We're doing Ringo South 2023 at the venue. It's the Coolwood Clubhouse venue. Great place. Great price for the size. Kind of out of the way, which is why we made lunch an hour and a half. And it's probably what I'll do for this event next year. I'd like to do a 2-day event there. But even though it's not super expensive compared to like $1,000 hotel, which is where we used to do all of our events, unfortunately my contact has moved away and the new one won't give me the discount price she did. So not doing $1,000 for a hotel room for a hotel venue for 1 day of gaming, yeah, that's not going to happen. But it's going to be one of those things where, if the math checks and I can do like a $35 entry fee, that's still kind of steep. But I don't know. I'm thinking I'll probably just keep it to 1. I know that I get more folks from out of town because they'd be more willing to do a 2-day event. Personally, I don't like going to 2-day events unless it's around like a big weekend. Because for me to go somewhere for a 2-day event, I have to take Friday off to travel. Then I have to play the event on Saturday and Sunday. If I'm lucky, I can drive back after the event on Sunday, but that usually isn't the case. So you drive back on Monday, so you got to take at least 2 vacations. I'd rather just go play a 1-day event, stay overnight on Saturday and drive home Sunday. That's just me. Apparently, there's a whole swing right now where everybody would prefer 2-day events. Whatever. If that's the case, then I'll pick and choose my events based off of what works best for my schedule, which is what everybody else does, so there's nothing wrong with that. Well, that covers about everything, guys. I've talked about the cost, I've talked about the event packet, I've talked about the gameplay, I've talked about how I did matchups, how I did pretty much everything when it came to determining how to make this the best run event. That's really all I have to say. Maybe we might do this a 2-day event in the future. Maybe not. Who knows? If you like the idea of a 2-day event and you're watching this and you want to come visit and actually, meet me in person, shake my hand, throw some dice against me, let me know. I'd love to be able to. I'm still leaning towards a 1-day event, but I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up here. I think I've blabbered enough about this event. Go check out the LTR SBG team YouTube channel to see my thoughts, Dan's thoughts, and Joe's thoughts from a player's perspective. And also go check out Chris and his channel. Dang it, I keep forgetting his channel's name. Like I look it up and then I forget it. But he did a video. Don't worry, I'm gonna link everything below. I'm gonna link channels and videos below. Rogue Flight Painter, that's it. I'm pretty sure that's his name. Rogue Flight Painting, that's it. Not painter, painting. Rogue Flight Painting. But yeah, I'll leave a link to those 2 channels. And Chris's video is out, and I'm waiting for Dan and Joe to put the video out that we did the other day. And when that happens, there'll be a link below as well. And I think it's going to be pretty cool. We all talked about linking each other's videos, so a lot of interlinking and connecting here. That's great. That's what the game's for. So please like, share, subscribe. Thanks for taking the time to listen to this. Hopefully, if you're thinking about planning an event, this might help give you some insight into what goes into it. I actually plan on doing a video, maybe a short video series in the future, talking about what goes into it from a TO's perspective. It's a lot of work. It really is. If you've never done one, especially if you've never done a large scale one, like I'm not knocking any events. Any event is tough. But if you've only ever done like a 8 to 10 person event, it's a huge difference from going from 8 to 10 people to going to 18 to 30. You know, the greatest I've ever done before is 32, and that was, ooh, the logistics. Ooh, the logistics. So it makes you really appreciate the work that folks do who do these bigger events and who do the cons and the stuff like that. But please like, share, subscribe. Leave me a comment below. Love chatting with my subscribers. Take care and enjoy your Middle Earth hobby.